Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Well, good morning, everyone, and namaste. We're studying, of course, Swami Prabhavananda's collection of talks published by his disciple Nalini, Edith Tipple, as Realizing God. And we're on that talk on the subject of yoga. We'll pick it up here. Now, what happens when you try to concentrate your mind upon God? So many distractions, so many waves arise. Just at the moment you are trying to meditate and worship, all the distractions come. They have to be controlled. When they are controlled, the mind becomes crystal clear and the reflection becomes perfect. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, pure mind and pure Atman are the same. They become identified. Not this mind, but purified heart and mind realizes the Atman. Now, what does the Swami mean by not this mind? Not the mind that we're hearing this with. Not the mind that we're thinking about this with. That mind is a useful tool, no doubt. It's absolutely necessary. As Albert Einstein said, it is the servant. It is the servant. And we go ahead with the servant, but to progress beyond our ordinary frame of reference, our ordinary awareness, we need to practice this contemplation, concentration, and ultimately meditation so that we sink below the ordinary frame of reference and all the chatter that goes along with that ordinary awareness. We sink below it deeper and deeper into silence. Two things let you know that this is what is happening. There are fewer thoughts that come to your awareness. There's larger and larger gaps between thoughts. And as a result, because thought and breath are energetically connected, what happens is you begin to experience long periods when your breathing is slow, slower, slowest, and ultimately it stops for some time. This is called kumbhaka. This is the yoga term for it. Now, when it's happening, you don't notice because your awareness is on the focus of your attention, your mantra, your image, whatever it is that is at the heart of your concentration and meditation. But you'll notice afterwards. You'll come to a thought, and your thought will bring you to a more ordinary awareness, and you'll find, oh, I'm barely breathing. And you'll notice that there's been a long time between those thoughts. So this is what's meant by the purified heart and mind. Slowly and slowly you sink into silence. And this is what this Swami means. The mind becomes crystal clear. No thoughts arise in it. No distractions arise in it for periods of time. As Sri Ramakrishna says, even the most expert singer cannot keep his voice always on the highest note. So, of course, we return to our ordinary awareness. But even that has been purified by our experience, and our self-identification has changed. We're no longer trapped in this feeling that I am this left mind and all of its activities. We have witnessed that there is something beyond and beyond and beyond that. And of course, that's because we've become united for a time with the infinite. And this is the infinite, is the Atman or Brahman. And so our identification changes to that because it is far more powerful, far more persuasive than the left mind, which in the beginning means that the left mind gets very argumentative about it. Pay no attention. Just don't argue with your left mind. Just say, well, yes, I understand. You've been in charge for a long time. Things are changing, and we'll both get used to it. So before we go on, any comments or questions about what is meant by the process of creating the purified mind and what the purified mind is? Okay. How to make the mind one-pointed? In the scriptures we read, faith, devotion, and constant union with God or Brahman. Faith, devotion, and constant union with God or Brahman. I mentioned that feeling of connectedness that finally matures into the feeling of union with God or Brahman or Atman. In the beginning, we have faith. Not the faith of experience, not the faith bred of experience, but the faith that the scriptures and the teachers are telling us the truth. That if we persist in this pursuit, if we are persevering and patient and keep our attention focused through devotion to the task, it can be devotion also to the idea of God itself and to the being of God itself. But as Adi Shankaracharya points out, we need to be devoted to the task itself. That needs to become our number one priority. Doesn't mean we abandon the duties of our lives. We cannot. We must not. It's about as dogmatic as it's going to get. We really must not abandon the duties of our lives. But they are no longer, the activities of our ordinary awareness are no longer our number one priority. So we start with provisional or tentative faith based on belief in the scriptures and the teachers. And devotion to the task, which ultimately matures into devotion to God. And then as we learn to sink into that silence, and it is a learning process, educating the nerves, faith, devotion then becomes increasing relationship with, and finally, union with God. And so the Swami says, faith is the conviction that what the scriptures say is true. And when the Guru says, I have known that reality, he has known the reality. We believe that. My master added this: you must also have the faith in yourself that others have realized this truth, and it is possible for you also to realize it. And I'll add to that, in this lifetime. In this lifetime. Because a great spiritual power came into the world in the being of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. They are one being in two forms. And so, as it says in the evening prayer, easy of access to us, easy of access to us. Lord of the worlds, thou art ours, who wert born a child of our time, easy of access to us. So the spiritual power represented by that being that appeared as Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother is available to us. So we can have that faith. You must also have faith in yourself that others have realized this truth, and it is possible for you also to realize it. Yes. Devotion means to have interest in God. Without interest in having that treasure, there will be no striving. It also means there must come a longing for the truth of God, a deep yearning. But this is something that comes with time. You may not have that in the beginning, and you must not think, oh, I'm missing something because I do not yet have that. No, no, no. You start off with this provisional faith, your devotion to the task, your belief in yourself that I can do this, and then these other things come. A longing for the truth of God, a deep yearning. It becomes, as the Swami says in the book Spiritual Heritage of India, it becomes an unbearable ache. That yearning becomes an unbearable ache. It comes gradually. If you have even a little desire and you practice, great earnestness and restlessness comes. I cannot live without God. That's what he means by an unbearable ache. I cannot live without God. Constant union, or what we call meditation, dhyana, is a state to be achieved. The illustration given is oil poured from one vessel to another. There is continuity. You see, the mind, by its very nature, is in flux all the time. So the current of the mind has to be made to flow, unbroken, toward the one reality. That is known as meditation. The Gita states, utterly quiet. That's what I meant by sinking into silence. Utterly quiet, made clean of passion, those restless thoughts. Utterly quiet, made clean of passion, the mind of the yogi knows that Brahman. You become absorbed and you attain samadhi. Released from evil, his mind is constant in contemplation. Now, what does it mean, constant in contemplation? It means that even when you're doing other things, even when your attention, your ordinary awareness attention, must be directed toward some task, some duty, some activity in what seems to be the outside world. There is this feeling behind that doesn't go away. And the moment your mind isn't otherwise occupied, that comes more forward into your awareness. That's what's meant by being constant in contemplation. He is performing activities of life, yet is in union with God. The way is easy. Easy. Yes, in principle, it is very easy. In practice, not so simple. Because we have to master all of our tendencies not to do this, particularly in the beginning, before we begin to get this flow, we begin to get the sweetness. As Krishna says in the Gita, sour toil at first, and then nectar. So the Swami says, then the current begins to flow. Brahman has touched him. That bliss is boundless. And that's what Sri Krishna means by nectar. So of the three things that the Swami mentioned, faith, devotion, and practice, belief in yourself. He says the main thing is to be devoted to God. Shankara said, be devoted to Brahman, and you will be able to control your senses, and you will gain mastery over your mind. Master your mind, and the sense of ego will be dissolved. In this manner, the yogi achieves an unbroken realization of the joy of Brahman. Therefore, let the seeker try to give his heart to Brahman. So this is what is meant by, even within Jnana Yoga or Advaita, we have this idea of being devoted. It is a simple thing. It is a simple thing. Fix your mind and heart in God as often as you can. Before we go ahead, are there any comments or questions? Anything that remains unresolved for you? Anything that where there's a question about what's been said? And because it's good to build on a solid foundation of understanding rather than say, well, I don't understand that, but I'll just go ahead. So be bold. If there's something that you want to have amplified, or there's something that you want to comment for the benefit of the rest of those who are with us this morning about your own experience, please do so.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, I am.
So when that unbearable ache comes, does the ache itself propel the seeker forward?
If you were a thief and you knew there was a thin wall between you and a hoard of gold, if you were a thief by profession and nature, and you knew there was just a thin wall between you and a hoard of gold, how great would your restlessness be to pierce that wall and get to that hoard of gold? That's how it becomes. That's how it becomes. So yes, the ache will not let you be. You get less patient with all of the activities of the world. Not impatient, because that's not productive. But the things of the world no longer hold the attraction for you, because you think, what can I do to get through that wall? What do I take? I have only a nail file. I don't have much, but I'll use that nail file to make a hole in the wall. And then I'll expand the hole in the wall as much as I can. And finally I'll get through the wall to that hoard of gold. The metaphor is used of a guru holding his disciple's head underwater until the disciple was just about to drown. He then pulls the disciple's head out of the water and says, "How did you feel?" "I was dying for a breath of air." And the guru says, when you have that feeling, you will know you're very near. And of course, like anything else, because this universe is always in flux, it's always in flux. It comes and it goes, even for the illumined, as Adi Shankaracharya points out in the last 2 chapters of the Vivekananda, the crest jewel of discrimination. As long as we remain embodied and part of the universe in constant change, the universe the Maya will mask that again. And so we rise above that or sink below it, depending how you think about it. Transcendence says rising above. Yoga means, in a way, sinking below, detaching yourself from and sinking below. Anything more?
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Anything else from anyone?
Yes, Hari Om, Shankara.
Bala, what? Yes.
Well, 2 sentences really catches my interest. One is the Swami says, you must also have the faith in yourself that others have realized the truth, and it is possible for you also to realize it. That really touches my heart. And the other one is devotion means to have interest in God. It's not like where you have to, all you have to is just think about him.
And as I said, the Swami in conversation would add to that first sentence. He would say, "In this lifetime, it's possible for you in this lifetime." We wouldn't say that. That's why he didn't put it in this in a public forum, because these talks were given in public in the Hollywood Temple usually, or Santa Barbara Temple. Because what do we mean by in this lifetime and all that? But he would add it in private. An interest in God. We all know what it means to be interested in something. We can only be interested in God when we begin to have some experience of the divine. And that comes through faith and this devotion that, as the Swami said, others have done it, I can do it. That faith and devotion. So yes, Bala, I'm glad you noted those 2 sentences. Yes. Anything else?
And also Shankara gives a wonderful metaphor in Vivekananda. Even, if we neglect even a little bit, even for a realized soul, it is a downfall. And he gives the metaphor that when you have a ball, by mistake, if you drop it on the steps, it won't stop until it's, velocity comes down all the way down to the last step. This happens.
Yes. So then, all of Maya re-arises for us. That's what's at the bottom step. All of Maya re-arises for us. So we have to go all the way to the bottom, pick up the ball, and climb the steps again.
Yes.
And this is why he says, yes, you must be ever vigilant. But as he points out in the last two chapters, it's not like something is wrong with you if your prarabdha karma gets in the way of your practice, even as an illumined soul.
Yes.
It's only Ishvara and Ishwari that are not troubled in this way. Even the ever-free souls, like Vivekananda and Brahmananda, even they could be troubled in this way. So how much more? It's like the Baal Shem Tov said, that great Jewish mystic, the founder of Hasidim, which has changed so much since he founded it. But he said, to conclude that one is common and unlearned is the achievement of a lifetime. So we must not think of ourselves as like the great saints. We're common and unlearned, but that doesn't mean we cannot achieve the goal. We can.
Brother Shankara?
Yes.
Hi, this is Chirag.
Yes.
Question regarding what role or significance does having an expectation to something happen, having expectation for something to happen during this process, does that have any role or significance?
Interestingly, that is Swami Prabhavananda's fourth instruction for meditation. The Swami Prabhavananda's four instructions for meditation were these. The first instruction, and the chosen ideal, as we all understand, is that aspect or form of God that appeals to our heart. So the Swami said, the chosen ideal is you yourself, no different. Learn to feel that living presence. That's his first instruction for meditation. The second, how to do that, patience. Third instruction, perseverance. We must be patient with ourselves and the world as we go slowly and slowly forward, and we must be persevering. We will not learn to be a chess master by playing chess once a week with a computer game. We won't learn to be a yogi unless we persevere in our practice day in and day out as best we can. And the fourth instruction, which goes directly to your question, his fourth instruction is expectation. Now, it's not like an ordinary expectation of results in the world. There's no karmic penalty for it, as there is for having expectation of results and ownership of results in the world of Maya. No, this expectation is the expectation that I can do this. And I have no idea when it will happen. As the Swami would say, those of you who stick on, and he would make this little gesture, those of you who stick on are just a hair's breadth away. So who knows how long it will take us to cross that hair's breadth? We don't know. It could be today, it could be 20 years from now. But what we do know is that it's worth the effort. and that we can live in the expectation that it will happen if we follow the first three instructions. Does that get it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to get at. Trying to make that correlation to the Gita, right?
Yeah.
We're not trying to think about, oh, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Kind of agonizing over it. I appreciate that clarification there. So that was very helpful. Thank you.
Good, good. Anyone else?
Well,
Shankara,
Yes, Vijay.
Hari Om, good morning.
Hari Om, good morning yourself.
Speaking of expectation, only from my personal experience, I'd like to share that feeling the presence of Thakur around me changed something from God is for me to God is with me. That feeling pervading all the time around me. God is with me.
Good. Now hold the thought that not only is God with you, which is what the word Emmanuel means in the Christian tradition, God at hand, Emmanuel, God with us, Gott mit uns. Now hold the thought, God within me, that the chosen ideal is me, myself. Not just around me, not just with me, but within me. It is the power that causes this to happen. As the evening hymn says, as Vivekananda's evening hymn says, speech cannot hold thee nor mind, yet without thee we think not nor speak. And that power of speaking and thinking comes from within. Thank you, Vijay. That was very good. And I'm glad you have the experience of Gott mit uns, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much. And just want to add that faith, devotion, and the practice. Practice I have not done as much as I need to, and I need to dive deep into it very fast. To me, faith, devotion, and the practice, all three lead to a deeper trust in the Ishta.
Yes, absolutely. We start off with the provisional faith and the devotion of a task to a task, and the faith matures into faith based on experience, and the devotion matures into not devotion to a task, but to the knowledge that we attain by our experience, that there is something beyond this Maya. And then having gotten some way down that road, we then begin to see Maya differently also. But that's another story.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Brother Sakura.
Yes, Robert.
In the Gita Upanishad, chapter 2 starts out talking about the good and the pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just talked about, it does not make that the separation between the good and the pleasant. I guess maybe you're going to get to that point.
Well, the good and the pleasant. The good is what takes us beyond the state we're in now. The pleasant is that which sustains our ordinary awareness and our habitual way of being. That's what's meant by that differentiation in the Upanishad. The good is that which leads us beyond, leads us into greater and greater yoga.
Yeah.
The pleasant is that which sustains our, and as
Physical existence.
yeah, sustains our, and as Patanjali points out, there is danger even in the pleasant, because
Most of them, certainly.
yes, because we become attached to it, because we want more of it. We're afraid we'll lose it. And so the more we focus on the pleasant, the more we're creating, we're just digging a trap for ourselves that ultimately we fall into, and at the time of our death, we're not able to climb out of it.
It actually got to saying that the wise man will go to the good and leave the pleasant for the ignorant.
Well, yes. And that does not mean you don't enjoy a good dinner. It just simply means that if you have a good dinner, you enjoy it and you leave it behind. As Christ said, be passers-by. So you have the good dinner, and you don't live in the expectation that you'll never have another one, that you'll ever have another one. You just say that was fine, that was fun.
Yeah.
But that way, it's that release on our attachment to the pleasant and the pleasures of the senses. Of course, as long as we're going to be embodied, we're going to have the pleasures of the senses and the pains of the senses. We're going to have them both.
It says that, but the pleasures are going to lead to rebirth.
Yes, if you attach yourself to the pleasure, that's what I meant by you'll dig a trap for yourself that you won't be able to climb out from a death, and so it will lead to rebirth. And
but I got to. It's where you are as a soul. If you're at the point where you appreciate whichever, then that is appropriate for you at that stage of
absolutely, Robert. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said, when those gentlemen from Calcutta heard that he had been telling their sons about renunciation, the glories of renunciation, they formed a little delegation and they came to him at Dakshineshwar, and their spokesman, they were all men in those days, the spokesman said, "Tell us, why should we not enjoy the world?" And Sri Ramakrishna said, "Oh, go enjoy the world. I have no objection. But when you are sick of it, return to me. I have the cure." And what we're talking about this morning, of course, is the cure. And it comes to us directly from Sri Ramakrishna through Brahmananda and now through Prabhavananda and this talk that he gave. So yes, the mass of humanity will always be in a condition of apparent bondage. We are clear that our bondage is provisional. It depends on our belief in it. And we are given over and over ways to think about where the escape hatch is. As Swami Prabhavananda once said, when he was accused of preaching escapism, he said, "Well, that may be true, but I cannot for the life of me think why I would not want to escape." So we are being given the tools, the ways of thinking and being that allow us to escape. Thank you, Robert. That was right on the money.
Thank you.
The
And
good and the pleasant.
Yeah, I brought it up because I thought that everyone in this group needs to be totally aware of that.
Well, yes, and
And I recommend that you go to the Upanishads, that chapter 2 in the Gita, and it explains it in great detail.
yep, good. Yep. And
Yes.
for anyone who's unclear on the concept, you just got a good recommendation.
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Nira.
Also, I was thinking of between good and pleasant is also the distinction that the pleasant does not last with us, is transient, and the good, that's your treasure forever.
Yes,
You make the choice.
it builds to your being. It builds to being a treasure forever. You're right. Once you possess that golden hoard that's beyond the thin wall, it cannot be taken from you. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Nira.
Brother Shankara.
Yes, Haima.
Yes, you're right. It may take, you said it may take 20 years, but the first thing is to get that discipline of sitting, closing your eyes, and just go deep into your God within you is very important. That intelligent will and faith. Once you start those, even the chitter chatters, they come and go, but still you are achieving something. You don't wait for any end result. It just continues. And then once you get that discipline, it is so difficult to avoid. I mean, you want to get at the same time, early in the morning, nighttime, whatever the times, then you want to sit and do it. It's just like, it's your heart tells you, oh, it's time for me. It's time for my meditation. You just have to do it. Even when you're in the airplane, train, bus, wherever you are, it's so easy. This thing is to go into ourselves. I mean, I may be still on the bottom of the ladder, but still that discipline will lead you, if you have the faith and intelligent will. Slowly, slowly, you will get there and the ego starts dissolving. And then the healthier ego steps in. Then you can differentiate a lot of things in life. Every now and then we will have mishaps. We fall back, like Swami says.
Yes.
So, and then we can easily get up and walk again. How you fall down is not important. How you get up and walk is more important, like the Iranian.
We will skin our nose.
Yes.
We will skin our knees. We
Yeah.
will bloody our noses.
Exactly.
There's no two ways about it. If we're not willing to make mistakes,
yes,
then we're not willing to move ahead at all.
Exactly. We will have mistakes. Yes.
So you're absolutely right, Haima.
You're
but the wonder is,
yes,
and this was said now, nearly 600 years ago, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
huh?
No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy.
Exactly. That's right.
And
There's no.
and that's followed by then, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name.
That is true.
So yes, as you said,
Just
in the airplane, on the train,
yeah, to do anywhere.
You can even chant your mantra while you're driving the car.
Exactly.
So you find over time that it's preferable to listening to the music or the NPR or whatever it is that you normally would do when you're in the car. You'll find that you have a more pleasant time driving if you're practicing.
It's
So,
Uh,
but this is all, it comes with time. It comes with time.
it does.
And
And on the lighter note, when you're driving and doing your mantra, chanting your mantra, and if somebody cuts right in front of you, you don't react because you're busy chanting your
Right.
mantra.
well, exactly. Yeah, you don't, it doesn't raise your
Don't
blood
react.
pressure, so you don't react. You're right.
Yes, I actually had a woman swearing at me aloud, and I kept chanting my mantra, and that helped a lot.
Good, good, Brahmadas.
But
Yes,
hi,
well, you know, we have to remember that when someone is shouting those imprecations, the only one that's being harmed is them.
oh
If
yeah, I told her, look, I'm a reasonable person. If you want to discuss things with me, I can discuss. But if you're just going to swear at me, I'm not going to listen. I just told her that, and she kept going off. What can I do?
nothing.
But Jaime, you had mentioned on the plane, on the train, on the bus. Do you find that having earplugs helps? Because I find that helps me. What are your thoughts?
You can use the earplugs, yes, sometimes to avoid the noise. I always carry my earplugs wherever I go, even the movie theater I used to. Now we don't go to theaters anymore. But whenever when you're in the airplane, or it's so much easier because people are sometimes sleeping out, as soon as they eat, they sleep, and that's your time for yourself. So you pick the time you want to. It's so easy in the airplane, for me. So you could do it in the bus, and it's just that having that discipline of sitting and believing, just go deep into your own God within yourself.
Right, and you do mantra meditation where you repeat your mantra and visualize your Ishta. Is that how you meditate?
I do take my mantra, I do chant my mantra, but I also pay attention to my balloon breathing, that stomach inhale, exhale, that keeps my focus
Right.
inside. So that breathing is very good for health anyways, and that helps a lot. We just have to believe in it. Someday I am going to, and then slowly the anger dissipates, and good ego, healthy ego starts coming up, and then you don't react to it, you will respond to it with respect. People, even though others are so exploitative and angry, we can respond to them. It's about them, not about you. You only how you respond. That I see in myself, a lot of improvements, focus, concentration, things like this. Thank you so much. Thanks for the time, Brother Shankara.
Mm-hmm.
Hema, you said it very
I think,
nicely, because I think by practicing that, you feel you're more in control. Like, you can only control yourself. You cannot control others.
Oh, absolutely not. And the more we waste our time trying, the more frustrated we become trying to change others.
Exactly. We don't have any control over the world around us. We only, and then the other matters, worldly matters, become less influential on you. You won't react when you watch news.
Actually, we do have a great deal of power in the world. And if you want to read what I'm talking about, read Swami Vivekananda's Powers of the Mind. It's just that we aren't going to do it by arguing with people,
Yes.
or we're going to do it by radiating something entirely different than what most people are experiencing. And whether they know it or not, and it isn't like you're trying to influence them, it's not a question of that. It's just when you do what you do to become still and focused and radiant in the truth that is emerging in you, it has great effects in the world around us.
Yes, that's
right. And to that effect, when I'm in the presence of some of the more advanced swamis, I feel that radiance, and I
Yes, absolutely.
yes, I agree that I think you should do it at all times, but I don't recommend those earphones, because sometimes you need to be aware of what's going on around you. Sometimes you need to hear, and if you can do it without using the earphones, it takes your concentration to a deeper level because you are able to filter out what comes in and what you don't want to come in.
Well, you know, that's a good point of view, Robert. But some people need what they need.
Sure, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
So
okay.
it's you being a musician have a very different kind of control of your attention than most people have, and so you've learned to tune your attention to what you need to hear and want to hear in the environment around you, particularly when you're playing with other musicians and so on, and also tuning out what you don't want to hear. So that's a very great practice that you learn. Other people need different things,
That's true.
and so let them proceed as is best for them. But I certainly admire the way that musicians come to be. They have this ability to tune their awareness to what's outside of them in very productive ways.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Br- Brother Shankara, I just wanted to add something that has helped me, in addition to all the things that have been discussed. When my tamas really takes over, I go back to the day of my initiation, back to that monastery and the guru giving the mantra and the instruction, repeat so many times, and we all saying yes, and just reminding myself that I guess sankalp is the word I'm looking for, that I have to keep that sankalp. So that kind of propels me to sit and start, and then it kind of moves me forward. So
What
that has
a
helped me on
what a
those really
wonderful
tamasic days.
what a wonderful technique, dear. Good. Yes, we all have something that we could use as an analog for that, whether we've received diksha or not. We all have some moment, some experience that we can retrieve and focus on, that will rekindle our devotion and our faith in our practice. But yet I will say, in those times that tamas does overcome us, and we after that period is passed, we just have to say, as Swami Swahananda so often said, what's done is done, go forward. Don't regret for one moment, don't think for one moment about your mistakes of the past. The times when you weren't behaving optimally. We're not always going to behave optimally. And so it isn't as if we should be self-indulgent. That's not the point. The point is, once we've done something and it wasn't optimum, don't give it another thought. Just learn what you can from it. If you can, how did I trip myself up that way? How did I step on my own shoelaces that time? But then don't think about it another time. Just go forward. And the Swami would make this wonderful gesture. He would say, first he would say, he would say, go forward. He would say, what's done is done. And that's it. What's done is done. He would pull his hand toward him like this. What's done is done. Go forward. And so, yes, we all have our ways of energizing ourselves. But when we become de-energized, and it will happen. We all, as Swami Vivekananda points out, Maya is a waveform. Troughs and waves, troughs and waves, troughs and waves. And so sometimes we are in a trough, and sometimes it takes possession of us. And though that's not what we want. So we struggle our way out. But what the Swami says is when we're in the trough, what we're doing is gathering energy for that next wave. Thank you, Swami. And that was a very good technique that you described to return to that moment of energization.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Could you talk about the relationship between attachment and a need for control?
Yes. We are sometimes too prone to, as Cindy once put it, throw out the baby with the bath when it comes to the left mind. It's our left mind that has coped with the world, at least in this lifetime for sure, and perhaps if it's true in other lifetimes, and has learned the coping mechanisms that have enabled us to come to where we are. Now, that almost always takes the form of some sort of desire for control. Control for our environment, perhaps even control of other people in our environment. As Swami Chaitananda says, hopeless condition. Hopeless condition. We simply cannot control our environment. It's the gunas that are creating this environment. And the more we are attached to the idea that we must control our environment, and most particularly that we must control other people within our environment, then we are, as the Swami said, in a hopeless condition. So rely on the left mind as the servant that it is to continue those things that work for us as coping mechanisms. But at the same time, don't be attached to the idea of controlling your environment because it is hopeless. And as you practice, more and more take that witness seat of watching everything, watching the universe create what it creates, watching your left mind cope with it, watching your higher awareness transcend it. And this is the secret of non-attachment. Just simply being the observer, the witness. I see. And as what happens is we begin to see so many old and familiar patterns because that's how we've learned to be. That's how we've learned to succeed. Jill Bolte Taylor calls them neural loops. Sanskrit calls them samskaras or vasanas. They're simply mental impressions that when something of the winds of the gunas touch them, they produce a predictable result. And we have so many of them. So sometimes that predictable result is a useful one. Sometimes it's emphatically not. When we learn to be in that witness position, then we can see this is useful, this is not. I'll maintain, without being attached to, I'll maintain the useful ones, and I will release my habitual responses that are not useful. And some of those are damned difficult to release. So this is the practice of non-attachment, comes from being in that witness position so that I can see, there it comes again. Did that?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes.
So I think what you just said kind of relates to what I'm about to ask, and that's when we're in meditation or even any other moment, this witness, observer state of mind or perception or whatever you may want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything to be learned by the mental chatter, by the reactions, or are we to just ignore them? And let's just say during meditation, let's just make it a little bit more simple. During meditation, mental chatter, ignore it, or is there something there to be learned or gleaned?
This is why people who teach meditation will often say for the first few minutes, 2 minutes to 5 minutes of sitting, simply sit and observe your mind. Practice being in that witness position and see if there's anything to be learned, or if this is just all old familiar stuff. But then when we begin to practice our contemplation, concentration, and meditation, contemplation is taking up one idea and seeing how we're going to approach it for concentration. Then having decided on that, we concentrate on it. And it's easy when it's a mantra or an image or something like this. It's a little more difficult with an idea, like you cannot be what God is not. That's an idea that was introduced here by St. Thomas Aquinas, and it's been the subject of some concentration. So when you begin this process of contemplation, concentration, and then meditation is where when concentration has opened that idea or that mantra or that image to you, then you are simply with the one great thought that has been revealed. It's called samyama. And so in that space, all of this mental chatter is something that is up above. You've sunk below it. And you don't want it to intrude. So when it intrudes, you simply turn your attention back to the focus of your concentration, because your meditation has been interrupted. So you go back to the concentration, and you may then return to meditation. Does that get it? Or is there?
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Are you saying that we're concentrating on something? It could even be an idea or a previous thought. Other thoughts may interfere or something like that, but we need to focus on that. So when that happens, we drop those others and just steadily, slowly come back to what is the object of the meditation.
Yes, we don't let ourselves get caught up in the train of thought that will inevitably happen if we follow that other thought, because that's what the left mind does. It doesn't just have a thought. It creates a train of thought. This leads to that, to the other thing, and the other thing. And so, no, what we do is we release it. We release it by turning our awareness, almost like a physical movement, turning our awareness back to that which we have elected to make our priority in those moments. Whether it be the thought, as I said, St. Thomas Aquinas in this reading the other day introduced this wonderful idea: you cannot be what God is not. And it's very cleverly phrased, and so it has become the object of concentration, and ultimately, I'm sure it will become something of meditation. So that's a thought introduced from elsewhere, scriptures, so to speak. It's a testimony of a saint, a kind of scripture. So when that is there, and concentration is going on, first contemplation, what does this mean? What are the implications of this? And so on. Well, I don't want any other extraneous thoughts to intrude. So if they do, then I simply, as I said, it's almost like a physical gesture, return my attention to what is the selected subject of attention for those moments. And it's our decision. Every moment is our decision. There is no dogma. It isn't like if you allow yourself to be interrupted, you've done something wrong. But you just won't make progress along the line that you elected to when you decided to make that particular, whatever it is, the object of contemplation, concentration, and meditation.
Brother Shankara.
Yes, Robert.
I'd like to share something, an experience that I had 2 or 3 days ago. I meditate in the morning between 5 and 6. And I was sitting in meditation maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And I heard this sound. And it came and it started to get louder and louder and louder and louder. So it was deafening. And then it started to recede and it went away just like it came. And when it was gone, I wondered, what was that? And I went back to my meditation.
What kind of sound was it, Robert?
It sounded like a train coming through my house. And in the morning when I woke up, I discovered that it was a tornado. I have a swing on my deck and it had blown it down into the woods. And everything was in disarray outside. No one was hurt. It didn't create any kind of damage in the neighborhood that anybody had to deal with. But it's just something, it happened.
So it was an actual physical sound.
Oh, yes.
It was a reality.
Yeah, it was shaking.
It wasn't something that arose from
it happened.
Made it a meta-reality.
Right.
Oh, well, it's interesting that you didn't react to it in the moment. You just observed it.
But what I do is when I'm meditating, everything that happens, I may notice it or hear it or see it, but I don't react to it. I continue my meditation.
Well, that's.
But I thought later, I said, if it had occurred during the daytime, I would regret that I didn't get up because I would have liked to have seen that. Yeah. But it was dark. I couldn't have seen it anyway.
Well, In any event, it's good that you were able to maintain control of your attention and simply observe it. And and later you were able to identify what it actually was. So intriguing. Oftentimes we will hear sounds in meditation that are a meta reality.
Yeah.
That particularly when people will hear music or they'll hear
Yeah.
home or what have you. But that must have been interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah, this was a real thing. I was trying to figure out what it was. And I said they couldn't have been any. I couldn't think of anything it could have been.
Well, you later found out what it was.
Yeah.
As a musician, have you ever heard a song that you've heard before, but you're appreciating it in a way you've never appreciated it before?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, me too. So we do hear music, but we hear it in a way, we kind of see it from a different perspective.
Yeah. Sometimes I will play it later.
Beautiful.
I will, because it's usually a beautiful melody, and I'll remember it and play it.
All right. Well, it's a little afternoon. If anyone else has anything to offer, wonderful. We won't continue with the reading for this week. We'll just leave it at that. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara, I have one comment about Jenny's question, attachment and control.
Yes, dear.
I just want to comment on that. As long as we are attached to a thing or a person too much, then the control button is always on. We want to correct everything. We want to do this. We want to advise for unasked advices. And then for the things we think it's mine, when once you have a healthy detachment, then the control goes away. That can happen through meditation too. If we practice it, it can happen if we like mastering our mind. So then we don't have the control button on. Even you can give advice, but don't expect the results to be that they are going to do it. It's okay. Even if they don't do it, you still love them the same way as you did before. So if you have that healthy detachment, then the control will not be there. Control, you kind of watch it like, okay, it is what it is. They'll just have to try and see the consequence and learn a lesson. If it is a person. So I just wanted to make that comment which came to my mind.
Very good. Thank you, Haima. And from your experience as a counselor, I'm sure that has great reality.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Yes.
Thank you, Haima.
Anything else from anyone? All right. Because it is so much needed, we're going to continue using this prayer for peace that was so beautifully translated by Swami Yogeshananda. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let this infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. And our sweet salutation as we depart from one another. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. Go forward in Mother's loving and protective embrace. So until tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, Tom Carr will lead us in an open forum discussion on meditation. He's skilled at asking good questions and moderating the responses. So please do join us tomorrow morning, regular Sunday morning Zoom link. And Tom, I'll open the meeting with our regular chant and introduce Tom. And then Tom will take it for the hour and then we'll close it out. Any final thought from anyone? All right, dears. So good to have been with you. I think this was a very good discussion today. It's exactly what a class should be. So until next time, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.